Hi, I'm Chris from Development. Let's take a look at securing a Coronium Skytable server. In the documentation here, there's a section called HTTPS/SSL, and here are the instructions that outline how we can secure our server. The actual process of getting your certificates and updating your configuration for the server are fairly simple. The details come into play when you're setting up your domain name and then pointing that to your server. And those instructions are outlined here as much as they can be because they do vary by service. So just as a quick overview, what you want to do is have a domain name that you've purchased or already own. You're going to be adding a third level to that, and in the example here we use Skytable as the third level domain, so that's basically the prefix, so it's skytable dot whatever your domain is. And then at that point you'll need to point that to your Skytable server depending where it's hosted. If you host it on Amazon, I've provided a few links here to use their services. And if you're using DigitalOcean, I've outlined some steps visually here on how you can set that up. That, of course, is a little bit out of the scope of actually getting the certificate and securing the server. So that aspect is on the developer as far as getting the domain purchased or using a previous domain and then setting up your third level domain and pointing that to the server. Once you do have those steps figured out, you'll move on to the Let's Encrypt section, and this is where we actually go through the process of converting the Skytable server to an HTTPS server. So as noted here in the guide, you don't really want to continue, you actually do not want to continue at all with this step until you have the domain set up and pointing to your server. And the way that we can test this and make sure that it's operational is by inputting it into the browser itself. So here you can see I've already set up a third level domain, and this is an unsecured, this is just a regular HTTP, and I have my skytable.development.com. And at this domain I'm verifying that my Skytable server works as it should without HTTPS, and once this is all happening, then you can continue on to enabling HTTPS. If you're not able to access your Skytable server and get this response page here using a regular domain, then you will not want to continue. So with that in mind, let's jump back over here to our docs. And what we want to do is, first of all, we need to log into our Skytable server using the root user, not the Coronium user. And if you're hosting on Amazon, that user is actually called Ubuntu. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to log in here using my terminal. And the other thing you want to do is when you're logging in, instead of using the IP, go ahead and use the domain name, and that way you can verify that everything is working as well. So I have a connection to the server, and once we're here at the command prompt, then I can go ahead and continue on. So here is a one-liner that we can copy, and we paste this in, and it will start to run the configuration scripts and prompt us for a few questions, and then we'll generate the certificate. The secure certificate will be issued by a free service called Let's Encrypt, and they'll need a couple pieces of information from us to do that. As pointed out here in the warning, once you start this process, there really isn't much to go back to, so make sure you're ready to do this. If not, then generally you probably just want to reinstall the server. Beyond that though, once you're ready to go, we'll just copy this line again, and then we're going to go over to our terminal and we'll paste this in, and this will initiate the actual process of generating our certificates and making the proper updates to the Skytable configuration. Okay, once that's all set up, the initial scripts and everything are downloaded, we're going to be prompted to enter a few pieces of information, and this information is going to be provided to Let's Encrypt so that they can issue a secure certificate against this server. Again, looking at the documentation, we can see here I've outlined what you're going to be wanting to supply. With your third level domain, in the instance here, for this example, it's skytable. Whatever your domain is. And so the host name will be the first part of this third level domain, and that will be, in our case, Skytable. So that will be the host name, and then the FQDN is the fully qualified domain name. it's a mouthful, but basically it just means the entire domain structure there. So it would be skytable.yourdomain.com, and then you'll need to enter a valid email that can be used if Let's Encrypt needs to let you know any information about your certificates. So we're going to go ahead and enter our information. One thing to make sure is that there's no spaces or anything, so I usually hit delete here real quick just to make sure. Skytable, and then our fully qualified domain will be skytabledevelopment.com, and then an email. And then at this point we just need to verify the information, make sure everything's correct, and then we can go ahead and enter yes. This will start to run the install scripts and request a certificate from Let's Encrypt. And once that's done, you'll get this little screen here. It tells you that you're now being served over HTTPS. And one thing that you generally want to do after you've run this script is go ahead and just reboot your server. So to do that, you can do sudo reboot-h, and that'll just take a little bit to restart that. And in the meantime, you'll need to go into your client configuration on your Corona project and make sure that you update your URL or your host here to HTTPS. So while we're waiting for the reboot, I'm going to jump here. This is the demo project, and in here in the initialization I'm going to go ahead and add an S to the protocol here, and then I'll enter my server domain. Okay. What we want to do now is jump back over to the browser, and before this is still showing the original HTTPS. If I do a refresh, you'll see now we're getting a bad request because we're not specifying the proper protocol. So I'm going to go ahead and do an HTTPS, and then now we are seeing the result again from the Skytable server, but this time it's being served over a secure protocol. We can go into our client now and make sure that that's working. I'm just going to run down here to the bottom and run the set data script, and let's grab our console here. We can see that the data has been saved, so that's good news. And just to make sure that we can retrieve the data, I'm going to go ahead and pull that, and then again we have our result. So now our Skytable server is secured, and we're running over the HTTPS protocol. So again, the most difficult part is actually just getting your domain set up and pointing it properly to your server. And that does it for now. Thanks for watching.